The worst part about getting injured isn't the pain. It's doing everything you're told and still getting injured again. The first time I got injured, I did what most people do. I saw the doctors, I saw a physical therapist. I followed their plan exactly as they gave it to me. And when my pain went away, I thought I was healed. My tissues were, but my body wasn't ready. Over the years, I've dealt with many injuries, such as my ankle, knee, hip, wrist, shoulder, neck, back, and the worst of all, nervous system. And here's the part that still bothers me. No doctor I ever saw explained to me that healing tissue is not the same as rebuilding capacity, or how to teach your nervous system that is safe to move again. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 things I wish I knew when I got injured the first time, and what rebuilding actually looks like when you do it right. The first thing I wish I understood is that absence of pain does not mean you can resume training again. When we think about pain, we have to understand its specific role in the body, and that is to prevent harm. Just like if we put our hand over a scorching flame, we're going to pull away because of that pain, because we are going to damage our hand if we keep it there. When we twist an ankle, we're going to get a spike of pain so that we do not continue walking on a sprained ankle. However, once you sit down, that pain will continue to throb to prevent you from walking on it. After doing physical therapy and recovering from an injury, just because there is no more pain does not mean that you're able to resume the normal activities that you were performing up until the time that you injured. Since the absence of pain does not mean that the tissues, nervous system, and movement patterns are ready to tolerate force yet. Rehab often removes stress, but the unpredictability of life brings it back extremely fast. Don't get me wrong, pain disappearing is a great sign. It's just not the finish line. Most people get fooled to thinking that they're done when in reality, they're just at the starting line. This leads me into the second thing no one ever explained to me. The nervous system doesn't automatically reset. When we were talking about pain, the pain is guarding your body from bodily harm. However, just because the pain was temporarily removed doesn't mean that the nervous system automatically resets itself and allows you to hit certain movement patterns without flaring up again, because the nervous system is primed to be on alert when you have previously injured an area, being very, very cautious so it doesn't repeat the same mistake to prevent the injury from happening again. So how do you go about that? It begins with building tolerance. Now, I've already made another video going directly into the detail of how you rebuild tolerance after being injured. And if you would like to go further in detail, I'll link that into the description. These things don't reset the nervous system to allow it to start to operate under normal conditions. You can think of this a lot like a construction project that is trying to pass an inspection. If you go through the inspection and there is something a little off, they're going to fail that inspection. But not only that, when they come back, since they've already found something that was not up to standards, when they come back, they're going to relook at everything in extensive detail. And so all the cracks in your foundation will be exposed because of that one injury. So this is extremely important to take care of so it doesn't hold you back in the beginning. Your body isn't broken, it's just being cautious. So if you've ever wondered why your body is still fragile even though it is healed, this is why. The third thing that nobody ever explained to me that got me trapped for years is that mobility without strength is only temporary access. You can think of it like a mobility is opening a door, And strength is what keeps the door open. Without strength, the nervous system is going to close the door of accessing that mobility. That's why you may feel great when you're doing PT, some rehab, and then all of a sudden, you can no longer access that flexibility that gained. Or in my instance, many times I would start to stretch and gain great range of motion temporarily only for that day because your body is sensing, oh, I am not strong in this position. I don't want to go here. So you need to develop strength in all the ranges that you now are able to achieve through flexibility and mobility training. And even though you're doing a lot of stretching, you're not getting anywhere. However, when you learn how to do it correctly, it's extremely amazing how fast you will progress. If any of this sounds familiar, I put a rebuild checklist in the description down below so you can see if you're actually progressing or just putting a bandage over the problem temporarily. The fourth thing is the injury exposed cracks in your foundation, angles that you never trained, your weak points, essentially. For example, when I was 18 years old, I was a bodybuilder. I was in great shape. I could do remarkable things. While trying to impress my future wife, I jumped out of a tree with a rope like Tarzan on the river. However, my hands were gripped so tight, and the momentum of that drop had my hands slip over the knot, and I broke and dislocated both my fingers on both hands. They were twisted around 180 degrees, the joint that is, and the fingers were broken, dislocated. It wasn't a very pretty sight. However, when I met with the doctor, the surgeon that was treating me, he was almost 80 years old with tons of years of experience in the field. He said that he never experienced anything like it because I had mirror image breaks on both hands. But the reason why was because the growth plates was the breaking point in my fingers. They broke right on the weak point. So even though I was really strong, that's where it broke. However, with this example, this is the same with many injuries. We get injured not because of the things that necessarily we're doing in the gym, but because we have certain weak positions that were never trained. And when the unpredictability of life happens, then all of a sudden we're moved in an area that we're not trained in, a weak point, and that crack in our foundation is where the injury occurs. How many exercises are we doing where we're rotating when we're doing exercises in the gym? How many exercises are we moving side to side? Or are we doing a majority of our exercises forward facing, forward and backward motions? That means that we have different angles that we're not hitting. These are the cracks in our foundation, our weak points. Another area is that you may have learned that to do an exercise, you want to do the full range of motion to get the most out of that exercise. However, if you are lacking in mobility, then you are only doing the full range of motion you have access to, not the full physiologically range of motion that your body was designed to move in. So the range that you have access to is the safe zone. Your body will not allow you to go further into that greater range of motion because your body knows that you don't have strength there. You're weak there. So it tightens up and it protects you from going further. So when you have an event where you slip or something happens and you move in this range with great acceleration, you will move past that safe zone and into that danger zone that you're not strong in. And that's when the injury occurs. As we go through our life, another one of those unpredictable events will occur, and that's when we're going to re-injure ourselves again. And that's why most people don't get injured in the gym where it's a safe, controlled environment, even though they're lifting big and heavy weights. They get injured in real life activities like twisting wrong, slipping, picking up the kids, having the kids throw a tantrum while they're holding them. All these different things in life, we have to train ourselves to be able to protect ourselves when we enter those unpredictable events if we want to stay injury free. And number 5, rehab is the baseline, not the finish line. It's kind of funny. I always think of the term rehab as drug and alcohol rehab. And when you think of somebody who graduates from that program, are they ready to become successful in their life and reach to the highest of their potential? No, they were just restoring their physiological state to the normal level that they should be at. They're in physiological debt. And so when you injure yourself, it's kind of the same. You are in a certain debt because of your injury. However, when you go through a physical rehab program, you are returning to basic function and not optimal function. How far you progress in your rehab program is often not dictated by your doctor or the expert treating you in your recovery journey, but sadly, it is dictated by how much the insurance companies are going to cover. So they're the ones who standardize whether you're able to resume normal activities. So unfortunately, this is not optimal function or does not mean that you're necessarily ready for all the unpredictable life events and going back to physical training at a high level like I was used to, but rather just basic movements without pain. But normal function isn't the same as resilience that's going to prevent you from re-injuring yourself again. Rehab restores movement, rebuilding restores tolerance. Rebuilding means progressively exposing yourself to all the types of stressors of life that throws at you instead of trying to avoid them, hoping that you'll be fine. Pain going away didn't mean you're ready. Your nervous system didn't automatically reset. Mobility wasn't enough. And the injury exposed cracks in your foundation. If you're caught in the injury cycle where it happens over and over again and you keep re-injuring the area, remember this, you're not broken. It's just that you were taught not how to rebuild properly. This was me years ago, and it's taken me years to understand the fundamentals of how to properly not only recover from an injury, but truly bulletproof it, building up resilience and armor so that you don't get re-injured again. Before you jump back into training or life, use the rebuild checklist I made in the description. It will help you determine whether you've actually truly rebuilt tolerance or you just remove pain temporarily. It will help prevent you from being stuck in the injury cycle. And hit subscribe if you want to bulletproof your body to prevent backsliding in your training.